once we get that right, which is for me the most important thing, that they have, first of all, respect. The second one is commitment. The third one, passion. Those three ingredients are non-negotiable.
Hello and welcome into the Non-Negotiables podcast. I'm Gavin and I'm here today with Justin. How you doing, Juz?
I am good, Gav. How are you, man?
I am fantastic. What a brilliant win on Tuesday night. Liverpool get beat last night, and I think we were saying that's kind of irrelevant, really, because we've got to win all our games. So Liverpool weren't really. I don't think Liverpool were really in it. You know, if we finish above Man City, we win the league. I think that's always been the case. But still, it's nice to have that little bit of breathing room, turn it into a 2-horse race from a 3-horse race, which I think it basically now is, because Liverpool need us and Manchester City to fuck up twice, and I don't see that happening. So I think they're out. You think Liverpool are out of it now?
I do, yeah. I mean,
I can see them losing again at the weekend as well. I think I can, because that's the end now for their season.
Yeah, and I mean, Klopp looks so done with this shit, doesn't he? I watched some of the post-match presser, and I mean, he just looks, I mean, he's finished, man.
Well, he's the dude that's quit his job, but he's being made to work out a notice period, right? And he's come in. It's Thursday. Friday's his last day. He's here on Thursday, and he's like, "What the fuck am I going through this for?"
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, he just wants to be in the pub, and he's having to turn up for work.
But overall, yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. A good game week for us. Well, City had the FA Cup tie, right? So yeah,
they play tonight. We're recording this Thursday morning, my time, afternoon your time. And City play tonight. I'll be honest with you, I don't see anything other than a City win tonight. Brighton, I didn't realise, like, I haven't been a fan of Brighton all season, but they're below Bournemouth. They're in really bad form. I think I looked at the form. I think they've won 1 of the last 6. So I'm not really holding up much hope. And that's the bit that kind of scares me a little bit, is that by the time they go to Spurs, the odds are Spurs are going to have nothing to play for, right? Like, because for us to be in it, we have to beat Spurs on Sunday.
Yeah.
So that'll be another defeat for Spurs. They're already 6 points behind Villa. They've got the 2 games in hand, but they're 6 points behind Villa as it is. But they've got to go to Chelsea and go to Liverpool before they even play Man City. Like, I don't see any way Spurs are still in the hunt for 4th by the time they play Man City, unless Unai's. That's kind of our hope, right? That Villa fall apart. Like, we need Villa to lose 3 games for Spurs to still be in this.
Yeah, man, I hate thinking like that convolutedly about it, but I mean, you're absolutely right. I think it's obviously going to affect the Spurs players' mindsets, and I know they're going to be up for the North London Derby no matter what, right? But it's that Man City game that matters, and
yeah, they've got such a big lead on 6 that they're not going to go anywhere downwards. Like we said, they're 6 points behind Villa. They do have the 2 games in hand, but their fixtures are so bad that I just can't see them getting there. So I think they're going to finish 5th. And I think by the time, we've seen what happens with these teams that are basically done for the season, right? I think they can come up with a surprise result because the pressure's off. But I think if you go 1 down, you kind of just give up at that point when the season's over. So I think that would be the big thing. I don't think the Spurs players are going to go in there and not give a fuck. I do think the Spurs players are going to go in there, and if Man City start popping the ball around, they might just think, well, fuck this.
Yeah, I could absolutely see it, and especially because we'd be on the receiving end of.
I mean, the fans are 100% going to be cheering for Man City that game.
Yeah,
like, there's no doubt about it. You can ask. I know a few Spurs fans. I know you do. They would take finishing 5th if we didn't win the title. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, they would prefer to lose to City than finish 4th and us win the title.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. So, we'll see. I mean, at least they're well rested. What, they've had like 15 days since their last game or something ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see how this works out, because I think, people keep on about they're rested. they're also going to be a bit rusty, right? Like they haven't played. We know what it's like when you go a long while without playing. Sometimes it can take a minute to get back up to speed. So I don't think it's necessarily a great thing for them. I don't think it's some massive advantage that they haven't played. I mean, our game was Tuesday, which is good because we get the extra day rather than it being a Wednesday. Plus the game's not until Sunday. I don't see the rest. I don't see the extra rest they've got being an advantage over the fact that we've been playing and the last couple of games we've been winning.
Yeah, I don't think it's really much of an advantage at all for them coming into the North London Derby, but I'm thinking those couple games after it, after they've played, having this rest, you never know. I mean, that could help us a little bit, is kind of where I was going with it. But yeah, I expect they'll be a little rusty, not quite sharp.
All right, well, listen,
game.
let's do that in the second half. We'll preview Spurs in the second half. We kind of got off track a little bit there.
Yeah.
Let's start with this, Juz. So last weekend, Forest went to Everton. Everton won 2-0. Forest had 3 pretty Stonewall-looking penalties turned down. I think the handball was perhaps the most dubious of the 3 because I'm just not sure what a handball is and what a handball isn't anymore. Sometimes
neither the refs. So
no, exactly. Sometimes it seems to be would a ball hit a hand, so obviously it's a free kick or a penalty, and sometimes it's well he didn't mean it, so it don't count, and sometimes it glanced off here. I just don't know anymore what a handball is or isn't. So that one you can kind of throw out. The 2 fouls I think were definite fouls. The fact that the referee missed them is pretty bad. The fact that VAR cleared them is pretty bad, but VAR isn't fit for purpose anyway. So at this point, I'm really not sure what VAR is there for. But Forest official Twitter account put a statement out, and this is what it said: 3 extremely poor decisions, 3 penalties not given, which we simply cannot accept. We warned PGMOL that VAR is a Luton fan before the game, and they didn't change him. Our patience has been tested multiple times. Nottingham Forest Football Club will now consider its options. Now, I've seen a lot of people say good on them. Clubs need to start calling out these officials. I'm calling bullshit. Because if you want to elicit a change in the process, you need to call out the decisions that go for you, not the ones that go against you. We know there's issues, right? VAR's a joke. PGMOL have so much power that it's just ridiculous. But I tell you what, having watched the Champions League so closely this year, I can confidently say that the refs elsewhere are no better than these Premier League refs. The refereeing in the Champions League is as bad as the refereeing in the Premier League. It is incompetence. I don't think it's bias. And I just don't... I think this statement's come directly from the lunatic owner of Nottingham Forest. But I can't get behind this. I just think it's utterly ridiculous that they've put out this statement.
Yeah, I mean, as a kind of neutral, just kind of watching on the sidelines here, I think it's hilarious. I've never seen a club put out quite a scathing direct statement like that from their official social media handle or whatever. But yeah, I don't think it does them any good. I like what you said. You've kind of got to either win or voice your criticism on the calls for you, because you're kind of in a position of strength there, where when you lose, it kind of just looks like sour grapes. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to help their situation. That's for sure.
No, and that's the thing, right? There's the sour grapes thing. Like this, to me, is Forest deflecting from the fact that they've broken rules by spending too much money. They've replaced their entire squad 2 or 3 times over since they got up, and they're still utter shit. And all this does is deflect from it. Should they have had penalties? Yes. They should have had 2, at least, I think. But you're down there because you are so bad. They are so bad. It's just deflection to me. I mean, and the thing with them and Everton, I tell you, I would love to have seen both of them gone, because I am sick of the whining and the whinging. Absolutely sick of it. And it's a shame it looks like they're going to both stay up.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it's hard to how do I want to word this? Like, I mean, Everton's had have they got 3 points deductions this year, or just 2? So it's not like Everton is some, like Ferguson's United, where they're like protected and they get all these calls for them or anything like that. I don't know.
Well,
I think
this is the other thing, Just their fans on Twitter especially are all, oh, well, there's a big six mafia. These decisions are all to benefit the top six, and they don't want anyone else in. Mate, your club's pretending that it's because there's a Luton fan on VAR. So who are they trying to benefit here? A Luton part of the big six, and I just didn't know it? Is that what's going on here? I mean, in the last two games, we have had tackles on our players, right? The the one on Tomiyasu by Nico Jackson Tuesday night was 100% a red card, right? It wasn't close. It was a red card. I don't even know if it was looked at by VAR, but if it wasn't, I don't know why. And if it was looked at and cleared, that might even be worse. Max Kilman went through Kai Havertz in the Wolves game. That could easily have been a red card. I think that was borderline. I don't think it was as bad as the one on Tomiyasu. I think it was borderline, but that could easily have been a red card. We didn't get it there. The Harry Kane elbow in the Bayern Munich game. We didn't get that. We didn't get that. There's a European one going completely the wrong way. So, and as far as I'm aware, we are part of the Big Six Mafia, right? We're part of the Red Cartel, I believe they call us.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. So, as far as I can see, we're not exactly benefiting from many of these. So if there is a Big Six cartel and there is some bias towards the Big Six, I'd quite like to see some of it.
It's funny to me, every club thinks that they're on the receiving end of unfair and improper ref treatment, and we do too. We're guilty of it, and we can complain and whine about it quite a bit. As I mean, we've
fans
even done
do
it.
whine. Fans do whine. The problem isn't the whining. The problem's the conspiracy theories. Like there was a load of people at the weekend. Oh my God, that disallowed Coventry goal against United should never have been disallowed. It's to get an all Manchester final. Mate, they gave a penalty that was never a penalty to Coventry 3 minutes into injury time to level it up. Like it would have been easier just not to have given that penalty, which should not have been a penalty.
Yeah, I don't know what this is, the conspiracy theories and like these the whole script that I guess a lot of fans think this runs on. But yeah, I agree with you. It's okay to be aggrieved about refereeing decisions, but there's no like huge Illuminati style conspiracy going on, I don't think. And I feel like every club gets its turn of kind of getting screwed over pretty bad.
100%.
But it's just kind of the way.
And like I said, I think if you do really want to bring about a change in the process, if you do really want to make this better, you have to call out the ones that go for you. You can't just be constantly whining about the ones that go against you. You have to do it both ways, because if you don't, then it looks like sour grapes. It looks like making excuse making. That's just the way it is.
I think just to like tangentially related, but I think a good example of that is Klopp complaining so heavily about the scheduling, so games so close together. It just comes across like whining after a loss, but it would have meant more if they would have been like, oh yeah, they almost had us because of the scheduling, but we managed to pull it off. It's like if you lose, it's just bitching.
Yeah, I just don't think you can do this after you lose. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like you just can't, because it just looks like you're trying to deflect away from it. So I just want to touch on that. We've already done more than I really want to do on it. Like I said, I think the refereeing isn't great, and VAR is 100% not fit for purpose. I think the game would be a million times better if you just took VAR away at this point. It would have been better if it had never come in the first place. But right now, there is no benefit to having VAR in the game. I think decisions are a lot more acceptable when a referee makes the mistake and not someone sitting in a control room who gets to watch it 100 times. Also, everything looks different, slowed down, right? So the VAR isn't really getting the full picture anyway, because they're slowing things down and looking at 100 frames a minute or whatever it is they slow it down to, so they can see it in super slow-mo, and that's not how the game's played. So I don't know, I just thought we should touch on that.
Yeah, of course.
So On to the Chelsea game. We did do pod after the Wolves game. I apologise for that. It just didn't work out. And that was a great win, just the Wolves game, wasn't it? Because I think we were both scared of that game because of what had happened going out in Munich, because of how down we were, because of the downward spirals that we tend to get on. And and we saw obviously the last 2 seasons we've seen the season absolutely capitulate towards the end. The Wolves' performance, I actually thought was a really good performance. It was very controlled. It was never in any doubt. I know the goals were late in the first half and late in the second half, but I thought we absolutely dominated that game from start to finish. It was a really good performance.
Yeah, that's really about the biggest thing that I would bring up about the game is it was about as dominant and one-sided as like a 2-0 performance could be. Like you said, never in doubt, we controlled, and great performance. It was good to bounce back, and I think a lot of that confidence kind of drug us into this Chelsea game as well, because most everybody looked like they were flying pretty high.
Yeah, and that was a point that I would have made on the pod had we actually have had one earlier in the week. Is that a lot of people saying we look leggy, we look tired. I don't think that was the case. I thought we looked shorn of confidence. And I think that win at Wolves kind of put the bounce back in our step more than anything else. I mean, you can't tell me them players look tired Tuesday night. I think the tiredness thing is massively overblown. I just think there was a confidence issue. I thought there was a confidence issue against Bayern Munich. I think for all the hope that we had and the expectation we had, it kind of looked to me like a team who hadn't been there before, who weren't sure if they could win. And I think that was an issue. And I think, against Villa, when basically the ball wouldn't go in the first half, I thought it looked as though we didn't believe that it was ever going to go in. And that kind of played into that second half performance. And without that goal by Trossard right on half time against Wolves, I was really worried it was going to be the same again. I think by the end of the season, if we do end up winning this title, that Trossard goal is going to be a real pivotal moment. Because had we have gone in at half time against Wolves at 0-0, that second half could have gone very differently.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree. I think it's a lot more confidence. I mean, rubbing shoulders with European elites like Bayern, even if they are a little more down than previously, it's still a big deal, and it's still a big occasion for almost all our players that haven't been here before. Short of like Jesus, Zinchenko, a handful of guys.
Absolutely. I mean, Robert De Niro ain't done a good film in 30 years, but if you were acting alongside him, you'd still be a little bit starstruck, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. So it is. I think it was really important that Wolves game was massive after Villa and Munich to stop the spiral and bounce back. And I mean, we did it. We're getting the job done. We're doing our part so far, and you can't really complain. But yeah, what a performance against Chelsea. You ready? You want to get into it?
Yeah. And this again is another game of two halves for me, because I've got to be honest with you, I wasn't overjoyed by what I saw in that first half. I thought it took a little while to adapt to Partey being back in the side. Yeah. Obviously he takes a lot more risks. A couple of them didn't come off early on, and I thought we could have had a problem a couple of times. Madueke absolutely mullered Tomiyasu in that first half. There were 3 or 4 times he just tore into shreds. And I was worried about that. And then Chelsea just couldn't get the ball out to him anymore, and we really benefited from that. But I thought we were too open that first half. It was very different to a lot of what we've seen for this season. We got the early goal, which was nice. But it was definitely more open than I wanted in that first half.
I think it's kind of the duality of Thomas Partey, right?
Yes.
It's like he does, he gives you a lot, both offensively and defensively, but he's not really like a sit in there anchor. You are going to lose a little bit of control in midfield, but the trade-off is, he can I don't want to say create better than Jorginho and Rice, but he
can. He can. Let's be fair, he can. He's as a footballer, he's on a different level to those two players, and that is not a bad thing for those two players, because he's on a different level to most of the players. like creative wise from that position. Some of the dummies he does, some of the way he moves his body, it's like watching Kanu playing 6. And then some of the passes he plays, he's not scared to play any pass at any time. And sometimes that can go wrong. I mean, look at West Ham last year when Rice picked him off and everything started to unravel. So sometimes it can go wrong. I definitely feel more secure now with Saliba and Gabriel there and the way they're playing, that when it does go wrong, we can kind of get it back a little bit. But he will take them chances. And I think, you know, we haven't seen this midfield, right? Like, this is the first time we've seen this midfield. We've seen Partey at right back with OdeGOD and Rice in midfield, but we've not seen this midfield. And I think it just took a little while for the players to adjust, really. Yeah. And I think that first half was almost learning to play together.
And I mean, I think Partey too, on an individual level, you could tell because I agree, he had his shaky moments in the first half, but I definitely think he kind of grew into the game and got more comfortable as well. So I think kind of on 2 levels there was you know, a bit of like learning and understanding going on the pitch that needed to happen. But I mean, by the end of the game, or you know, about middle of the way through the second half, I mean, we were cruising.
Yeah, and I thought Partey was very good on the night. I really do. I thought he had a good game. We'll do what we think is going to happen on Sunday in the second half, but he certainly played himself into contention. There's no doubt about that. Kai Havertz, just, I mean, to me, this game is Kai Havertz, and Kai Havertz is this game, right? Yeah. That first half, I thought he was woeful. Really bad. I mean, passed text at half time and said it was just like, literally, Havertz has been shit. That was it. Yeah. That was his that was his entire text. Havertz has been shit, and I couldn't disagree. Even on the goal, the opening goal, Havertz drops back into midfield. Really clever movement. Knocks the ball, creates a space, knocks it back to Partey. Partey goes wide to Rice. Rice carries it and then finds Trossard. But even in that movement, which was an excellent bit of movement, dropping off the front, linking the play, you're looking at it and you're going, but that's all you ever do. You never turn and go at anybody. Your pass is always backwards into midfield. It came off. Fantastic. We kept the ball. You know, it went from there, and that's great. And that's where I think having Partey there helps a little bit, because when he's knocking that ball back to Partey, there's a lot more chance of it going forward to where it needs to go than if it was Rice or Jorginho picking up the ball there. But things were bouncing off of him. He passed when he should have shot, when he tried to get it to Rice and he underhit the pass. Then he shot when he should have passed, when Petrovic made the save down low, when Trossard was wide open to his left. And it was, I just thought he was terrible. I mean, I would have had him off at half time. And then in the second half, he was unplayable. He was running in behind. Them centre-backs didn't know what to do with him. He won every duel, every aerial threat. We played almost a 4-4-2, I think, in that second half. OdeGOD and Havertz played almost up top, and Rice and Partey played as a midfield too. It was basically a 4-4-2 in that second half. That is the mystery of Havertz, right? That's the enigma right there in 90 minutes.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, watching the you know, just the highlights again, I mean, he could have had 5. He could have had 5 easily.
But how good were the 2 goals, though? I mean, the 2 goals, he took both of them brilliantly. And then at times he looks like he can't finish his dinner.
Yep. Yeah, so it is weird. I mean, it like you said, it describes the player perfectly, I think. I'm still not his biggest fan, but I'm glad we have him. Just to reiterate, I much prefer him in the 9, and I think he's probably our best number 9 in the club.
I think right now he's definitely the best number 9 in the club. I also think because he's the best 9 in the club, we need a 9.
Yeah,
I think both things are true, basically. And I am coming around to the idea that the 9 maybe needs to be more of a better version of Havertz than something different. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd still say my number 1 option, if we could get him, would still be Isak. But I would understand if we went for someone who was just a better version of Kai, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, Isak wouldn't be bad because, you know, he still has a lot of technical ability. He still could drop deep. He could do a lot of a lot of that stuff. But yeah, they're not too similar, other than, you know, kind of ability on the ball, I'd say. But yeah, I mean, really good second half. Some great goals, and I mean, I felt great for the guy. The fact that he got to do that against Chelsea, and he celebrated and everything, and you know, every right to. So these people that are bantering off about the celebration, I mean, Chelsea fans have wanted him out for, you know, even after a Champions League final goal, they've wanted him out. So I don't think he should have any regret about celebrating there.
I hate players that don't celebrate, especially players that have been at a club for like 6 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like Havertz was there for 10 years and then left. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't get not celebrating. To me, it's just stupid. But we had a lot of good performances, especially in that second half. Ben White was absolutely brilliant again. I thought Gabriel was excellent again. I thought Tomiyasu got to grips with the game as it went on. It helped that Madueke stopped running at him, but more and more he started bending the game to his will, moving into areas, taking Madueke away. I thought Trossard was very good. I thought it was Trossard's best game for quite a while. He got the goal, obviously, but I just thought as a performance, I thought he was good.
Well, Saka though,
I thought Saka was all right, actually. I didn't think Saka had a bad game. Yeah, I didn't think he had a bad. I mean, he wasn't spectacular. I don't think he's having enough shots at the minute. You know, I've said to you before, right? We need him taking 7 shots a game. I don't even care if they all go over the bar. We have to have him taking 7 shots a game, and I don't think he's shooting enough. I don't think we're getting him close enough to goal at the moment.
You mentioned something about, you know, how the players looked as far as like fatigue and whatnot, you know, 10 minutes, 20 minutes ago. I think Saka is one that I do think he looks a bit tired, heavy legs. And where I notice it is his like explosiveness in running. I feel like for the past little while, he's not really had that. His like turning and cutting seems to be about the same speed as his, you know, his run. And I think that's it's a little unusual for Saka, but I think it's also making it harder for him to beat the guy in front of him and get a shot off. So, you know, obviously we have the Tottenham coming up, so, you know, I mean, we absolutely need Saka, but he's one that I would maybe try to get him you know, a half a game off or something. If we
need to? Do we need to now though, mate? Because we play Tuesday, we don't play again until Sunday, and then there's no more 2 games a week. It's literally Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, Sunday.
Yeah, and yeah, the schedule is decently kind to us, I think, with that regard. But you know, that is one just that I'm keeping my eye on personally. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But we don't really have another great right wing to put out there, anyways. So it's, you know, it's hard.
There's no chance of us taking him out. You can't. I thought Fabio Vieira actually looked quite bright when he came in. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a few more minutes off the bench. I don't know where, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a few more minutes off the bench because I thought he looked pretty bright. The only other one I think we have to touch on is Martin OdeGOD, because he's the way he's playing at the minute, he's just out of this world. He's not going to win Player of the Year. Phil Foden's going to win that. I don't like these individual awards anyway. I certainly don't like the fact that they vote on them in March, because that just seems a little bit stupid to me. You know, and there's been, funnily enough, there's been a lot of talk about Cole Palmer, who has the same non-penalty goals as Kai Havertz this year. Just want to point that out real quick. But to me, OdeGOD is the best player in the league now. Not just has been, he is the best player in the league. I think he's overtaken De Bruyne now. I think he's had an outstanding season, and I'm not quite sure why it goes so unnoticed with him. Maybe because a lot of what he does doesn't make match of the day, because a lot of it is the pressing, it's the leadership role that he plays. It's not all just about the highlights. But even if you look at the highlights, if he had 25 assists this season, I think you'd say that's about right for what he's created.
Yeah. I'm surprised he doesn't have more. You know, that the ball for the, you know, the third goal, that the arcing ball to Havertz just to run on goal was, I mean, I think my jaw like literally dropped when I just saw how perfect it was, right into the path of Havertz. Yeah, he's been exceptional And I agree. He's got to be, if not the best player in the league, I mean, he's right up there. And I think for this season, especially with guys like, De Bruyne and Holland's obviously slowed way down on his scoring. I think it's
Salah's
really
not had a particularly good year.
Yeah. Son even has been,
Yeah.
hot and cold. I mean, I think, I'm trying to remove bias, and obviously that's almost impossible to do. But I mean, he'd be my player of the year as well. Just
Yeah, I mean,
ridiculous.
I've got no problem with the player of the year coming from the champions, because I don't, like someone like when the Cole Palmer's name was mentioned, I'm like, dude, you can't be the player of the year if your team have been sat in 10th all year and were 10th last season. You just can't. Like, it's ridiculous. They have a saying in the NBA, right? There's a looter in a riot syndrome. So even the worst team in the league are going to score at least 75 points a night. Someone has to get those points. Chelsea, no matter how bad they are going to score 50 to 60 league goals in a season. Someone has to get those goals. And if Nico Jackson can't hit a cow's arse with a banjo, someone else has to pick up the slack. It just happens that it's Cole Palmer. It could easily have been Raheem Sterling getting those goals.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't say he would quite be in my conversation for player of the year, but I do think Palmer's been really good. And
I think he's been the best of a bad bunch of their signings. I don't think he's been bad. I just don't think when you're talking about a player of the year, you can talk about someone who, first off, has got half his goals from the penalty spot, but secondly, came into a team that finished 10th last year and have spent the entire season this year in 10th.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the only thing, he would really have going for him is, to ask the question, where they'd be without him. But even then, it's a vapid.
Well, then the answer is Ollie Watkins, if that's what you want to do, because without Ollie Watkins, Aston Villa are a mid-table team. So I think if you're going to do it like that, it's Ollie Watkins. But I think the player of the year should probably come from the champions, unless there's something ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? Like one of the teams who survive relegation has a striker that gets 30 goals, or something like that. Then that's different. But in a season like this season, where I think it's you could make an argument for it being reasonably close, although I don't think it is that close. Actually, I think OdeGOD has been quite a lot better than everybody else. But I think that coming from the champions, I got no problem with Rodri or Foden or whoever getting it if Man City win the league. But if we win the league, I don't think there's any reason it shouldn't be Martin Odegaard.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to look at it. And why wouldn't the player of the season come from? You know what I mean? It just makes sense.
Because they vote in March.
Yeah.
That's why, because they vote in March, which is absolutely ridiculous. But there you go.
Oh.
Okay, mate. All right. Well, I think we've done what we need to do there. Because Ben White obviously meant the 5th goal, right? We'll just touch on that real quick. He saw the keeper off his line, dipped it in the top corner, right?
Hey, if he says he did,
No, he didn't. He said he didn't. He said he did. Trossard said he did. Trossard said a goal's a goal, so we'll go with Leo on that. But yeah, so that was a great win. Always enjoy a win over Chelsea. And on to the next one, right? So we'll come back in the second half. We'll preview the North London derby, which is the biggest North London derby in many, many years. So I will see you after the break.
All right.
Hey guys, just a couple of quick halftime messages for you. Firstly, we'd really appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app. It really helps us reach a wider audience, particularly on Apple Podcasts. Secondly, we're on all the social media platforms as the NN Pod. We're really trying to build a strong Gooner community. So next time you're on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, look us up, give us a like or a follow, send us a message, interact with other listeners, or just have a look around. Thanks for listening from myself, Paz, and Juz. We really appreciate it. Welcome back into the Non-Negotiables podcast. This is part 2. Juz, I think this weekend, we're on Thursday now. This next 5 days, honestly, I think this decides the title, right? West Ham play Liverpool at home on Saturday. I think West Ham are going to get a result there. Even if they don't, I don't think it matters. I think Liverpool are out of it because, like we said before, can't see us and Manchester City slipping up twice. We obviously go to Spurs. Manchester City go to Nottingham Forest. Manchester City are going to win that pretty comfortably. Tonight, I don't hold much hope out for Brighton, but I just kind of think like this is probably the last best chance we have of Man City dropping points. Do you think that basically the table, not the table, because obviously they're going to have a game in hand of us, but do you think that Sunday night we're going to have a pretty clear idea of who's going to be champions?
Ooh. I think it will be a little more obvious, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be a little soon still. Now City, they still have I'm bringing them up right now.
Spurs away is their last tough game,
Yeah.
but we said that is the last Wednesday before the end of the season.
Yeah.
So the odds are Spurs are going to have nothing to play for at that point. So it's probably going to be just a stroll for them. I just don't see them dropping points if they don't drop points tonight.
Yeah. Looking at their remaining schedule is it's they'll probably win out. Yeah, you're right. I don't have much hope for Brighton either, but you never know. It probably is our best chance. And then West Ham on the last day. Yeah.
But that's at home as well, right? Because
Yep,
I think our fixtures home and away correlate between now and the end of the season. They've obviously got the Brighton away and they've got the 2 rescheduled games in there, but I think we're away at the weekend, they're away at the weekend, we're at home the weekend after, they're at home the weekend after, and away, home. So
no, they've got to go to Craven Cottage.
They do, but looking how easily Liverpool pulled them apart at the
Yeah.
weekend. Again, they're another club that's on the beach, right? Fulham, there's nothing left for them to play for.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, I think it's going to be, obviously if we get the win against Tottenham, all of a sudden, our tough remaining fixtures don't look that bad anymore.
No, I mean, I never thought that they looked that tough to begin with. I'm just so gutted with that Villa performance. Gutted with that Villa performance. I think I stand by the fact that I think the damage was done before New Year. I just don't think you can lose 4 games before New Year's Eve. You have to be too perfect in the second half if you lose 4 games in the first half of the year. I mean, look at it. We're 12-1-1 in this part. Yeah, I think it's 48-6. I think is our aggregate score this year. You really can't be much better than we've been this year. We just left ourselves too much to do. That Villa game is gonna long last in the memory, I think, if we fall short. I don't know, man. It's a gutting feeling thinking back on that game.
Yeah, Villa and Fulham for me. I feel I know that.
I think they're the 2 games, right, where we just haven't played well.
Yeah.
We just haven't played like West Ham at home. We lost that game. We could quite easily have won that 6-0 the same as we did the away game. As much, I think we had 31. I think we might have had more shots in the home game than we did in the game that we won 6-0. So I think, those things kind of happen. The throwing 2 points away against Fulham at home didn't help for sure. And then obviously we had the 2 defeats at Newcastle and at Villa earlier in the season where we got fucked by the ref both times. And they're, but that happens during the season. I just think we had to be too perfect in the second half of the season.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I don't even remember what season it was now. Within the last, 3 or 4, but you remember that we lost to Palace,
well, we had the season we disintegrated under Emery was when we needed 1 win from games at home against Palace, Brighton, and I can't even remember who the third team. Wolves, was it? I can't remember who the third team was now. Right. And we didn't get, I think we took 1 point from the last 5 games or something like that. And all it needed was one win. So, these things do happen. I mean, that was the year when he went for everything and got nothing. And that was obviously a bad year. Although looking back, I think we needed that year, so it was probably a good thing that we didn't get Champions League, because I think it would have been harder to move on how we did. But moving on to this game, Juz, I think it seems like Udogie isn't going to make it. So Saka will probably be up against Emerson Royale. I would imagine. I don't think they'll play Doherty. I think it will be. Oh no, he's back at Wolves now, isn't he? I think it will be Emerson Royale that Saka is up against. That's definitely a way in. On the other side, Porro likes to go wandering. I can't see how you can drop Trossard at the minute. Obviously, I would, but I don't know that you really can drop Trossard in a minute. The way he's playing, I just feel like Martinelli with that space in behind might be such a weapon.
He's just not been very sharp, you know.
No, he hasn't. Since that injury at Sheffield United, he has not looked right.
And so, you know, I'd be pretty happy either way. I think they both have their strengths and weaknesses. Obviously, I do agree though. His speed could be an asset. I just wonder if maybe it is better used coming on in like the 65th minute, you know, against tired legs. But
yeah,
then again,
that's true. Reverse Trossard.
Yeah, but then again, you know, Trossard is probably our best player off the bench, you know, our biggest impact player as well. So I think whatever way Arteta decides to go, I think is going to be fine. They're both good players, and I'm not too worried about it.
No, and I mean, I think Kai is starting up front, right? I think that's pretty much assured. The midfield is going to be the interesting part, right? Because I think that's going to be Spurs vacate the midfield. Like they absolutely vacate the midfield. They've got a defense and they've got a forward line. And they've kind of got nothing in the middle. They just leave Basuma to wander around and kick people in the middle. If we can get hold of that middle of the park, then I think that's going to make a big difference. Can you see Jorginho coming in? I thought Jorginho would come back in, but the more I think about it, the more I think with the way Spurs play, I think maybe it's more important to have Partey there.
I'm thinking so as well. And you know, it could be recency bias coming off the back of this last game, but you know, if Partey can play, you know, how he did that second half, I mean, that's an asset. And we can always bring Jorginho on. I think Jorginho is such a good like second half sub to like calm a game down, get control in the field if you lose it.
You know, I think the circumstance changes it, right? I think if we went there not having to win, then I think I might lean on the side of, well, let's play Jorginho and just try and keep hold of the ball for a bit. But that's not what this is. We have to win there. And I think I fully expect Spurs to have more of the ball than us. I think we'll sit a bit deeper, invite them on, and try and go at them on the break a bit. I think Spurs will have 55 to 58% possession in this, I would guess. You know, kind of a little bit like how we played Chelsea. Chelsea had more possession than us on Tuesday night, which is mad when you think about it, because every time you think of that game, we're going forward. But Chelsea actually had more of the ball, and I can see us allowing Spurs to have more of the ball as well. It's something we're not scared to do because our shape is so good, because we're so good defensively. We're not really that worried when the opposition have a lot of ball. As long as we can get them spaces in behind, and Spurs give you them spaces in behind.
Yeah, not only that, but they also they struggle to attack unless, you know, you're attacking. So giving them the ball and being able to, you know, it just
that's another good point actually. Sitting a little bit deeper might actually be a better move here than trying to keep that high line and allowing Son to go in behind, because what they've got pace out wide in Brennan Johnson and Timo Werner, and then Son through the middle. So they've got a lot of pace up there. If they don't have that space in behind to hit, a bit like what we did to Man City, really, we just stopped the space going in behind. And I think that might be a smarter way to play this than to try and keep a high line, try and keep the ball and just keep waving forward. Because you know, we have to win. We don't have to win 5-0.
Yep. And you know, the Spurs aren't City. I feel like if you cut that space out from behind, that's kind of their you know.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, we're a much better team than them. I think we all said on Tuesday going into the game against Chelsea is that playing the team wasn't the problem; it's playing the occasion. And I think that's what we're going to see Sunday as well. I mean, these two teams, they're not particularly evenly matched. There's quite a big gap between the two teams where we're quite a lot better than them. But the occasion is going to be something else. I mean, I'm telling you now, my buddy from New Jersey is actually flying back for it because he shares a Spurs season ticket with another guy, and he's actually flying back for it. And the atmosphere there is going to be red hot.
Yeah, I agree. This one, it's got me really nervous. You know, but I mean, it's you know a derby game, and it's always going to feel that way, I think. And you know, they could be 18th and we could be, you know, third, and it would still feel tight. You know, it always does.
Mate, look at Everton Liverpool last night.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
and that is a warning to us, right, about what could happen. Them two teams aren't they don't even play the same fucking sport. Like, it is a completely different. I think Liverpool had 73% of possession last night. They could have had 5 goals in the first 15 minutes. Yet Everton just basically clung on. They got that extra draw of energy from the crowd. They got in front. And once they got in front, you never thought Liverpool were going to get back in. That's what derby games do.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So you know, that's going to be in the back of everybody's minds, but I do feel like we've come pretty far, especially from like a mentality standpoint. We've exercised you know, most of our demons from previous seasons. I think what we've really only got to win at Tottenham and United, right? Old Trafford. And
we won at Spurs, didn't we, last year? We won 2-0 there last year
you're right,
at
right.
OdeGOD. So, you know, we've shown we can win there.
Yeah,
Old Trafford's kind of the last hurdle. Well, I guess we haven't won at Anfield or the whatever the Manchester City Stadium's called, Middle Eastlands, whatever it's called. Yeah, so we haven't won it. We haven't won at them too, but we've taken points there. So yeah, we've already slayed this demon at Spurs. The belief is going to be there. I think it's going to be interesting to see, and we're never going to know because obviously it's a sliding doors moment, right? Butterfly effect. But the result tonight between City and Brighton is going to be interesting to see, or it would be interesting to know if it would affect us in any way. Because I think if Brighton, funnily enough, we obviously need Brighton to get a result, but I do think that would ramp the pressure up on us. It actually, if you could pick it, it would probably actually be better for us that City win, we win, and then City drop the points against Spurs the day before, you know, in the penultimate game of the season, and then the pressure ain't on us, the pressure's on them the entire way. I think that might be, if you could pick it, that's how you would do it. Like I said, I'm up for them dropping points at any point.
Yeah, anywhere. Yeah, at this point.
But yeah, if you had a choice, you'd rather it be later rather than earlier.
Yeah, I think at this point, you know, every game they win, considering it's in their hands, is gonna just ratchet the pressure up on us, because we know if we drop like another single point, you know what I mean, it looks.
Oh, I think it's done. I don't think we can.
Yeah.
I don't think, you know, if they slip up once, I think that's already a big ask. Twice, I just can't see it.
Yeah, same. And I mean, talking about, you know, feeling pressure, shoot, I feel more pressure just kind of having Liverpool out, you know, because now it's that 2-horse race, just us and City. And I know that's ridiculous, but I don't know what it is. Now Liverpool's fallen behind a little bit. It's got me even more nervous. It's like, it's all on us, you know?
Yeah, I was expecting this, I have to say. I said to you, funny enough, I said to you last week, didn't I, that I could see him taking 2 or 3 points from Liverpool, from Fulham and Everton, and starting to fall away. And I think that's basically that's exactly what's happened, is what we thought was going to happen. They just don't have enough control. They give you too many chances. Liverpool give away too many chances. They gave away too many chances against Manchester United. They give away too many chances against Everton. Like I said, Liverpool had a ton of shots last night, but I think Everton had 15 shots. You can't do that.
Yeah, they do give away a lot of shots, and I think they're basically in a transition now already. And I know you can kind of say it's the end of the Klopp era, but I mean they got basically a whole new midfield. They played with back line that was ever changing for most of the season due to injuries, and it'll be curious to see how they can kind of rebuild going forward. Or are they going to fall off like the Roy Hodgson years now for a while? But I mean, it shows how deadly Manchester City is, that in this great era, this Klopp Liverpool side that was a really good side, they got 1 title.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and the betting odds basically reflect what we're saying too. I don't know if you've seen them or not, but Man City are 4-7 on to win the title. We are almost at 2-1, and Liverpool are 25-1. So the bookies think that this is over for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so as well. I mean, you just hit it. We're hopeful City mess up once, but I don't see it happening more than once. If they
No,
drop,
and they
we'll
need
get one
both of
match.
us to do it more than once. Like that's
Yep,
the thing. It's
exactly.
not just one team for them. It's two teams doing it, and I don't see it. I think they're gone. It's now a 2-horse race.
Yeah. Yep.
So where do you think on Sunday in our game then? Where do we win this game? Is it as simple as we just need the wide players to score?
I think it's going to be really important we score first in this one, even if it ends 1-0. I'm not even saying, I just think if we score first, I think it'll settle everybody down and we'll be able to like kind of dig in and control better.
Yeah.
But if they score first, I think it could be a little dicey on us. I think all the guys will feel a lot of pressure on the pitch, and that could twist really quickly out of our hands.
Yeah, and I think if they score first, there will be a rush of blood that we will get, where we could easily give up a second quickly by just throwing everything forward and panicking a little bit.
Yep.
I agree with you there. I think the first goal in this one is just so important. It's so important for us to get it and settle everything down.
Yep. And I know I mean our wide players are probably our more prolific ones, but we pass the goals around so much. I wouldn't be surprised if it was another Ben White to put us in the lead. But I'm hoping Saka and whether it's Trossard or Martinelli, I'm hoping they're really on their game because we need the wide players to click.
Well, and interestingly, we haven't scored from a set piece from a corner, I believe, since January.
Yeah,
I think the winner, or is it February? The win at West Ham, I think, was that the end of January? I think that's the last time we scored from a corner. So we kind of do. Spurs are not great from corners. Their goalkeeper tends to get bullied a bit from corners. I think the delivery's been off, right? Like Rice was absolutely on point with that delivery for a few months, and it's kind of just gone a little bit. And I think the same thing can be said of Saka from the other side. I don't think the delivery's quite been there. I would imagine there's going to be a few extra little sessions put on this week with those corners, because I do think that's an area we can get some joy.
Yeah, the weird thing about set piece tactics, I always feel, is that whatever you do, it only works for so long before you're figured out, and then you've got to rejig it, And I kind of think that with how fast the games have been coming, we just really haven't had the time to like devote to a whole new tactic on set pieces. And I think that's a big reason why it's tailed off a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's interesting too, because like I agree with you on that. With when you're playing 2 games a week, you don't get a chance to work on this. There's rest days in there. A lot of the times, a lot of these days, these players are coming in, getting a massage, doing some work on an exercise bike, and then going home.
Yeah.
They're not spending. It's not a job where you spend 8 hours a day training. I mean, Jesus Christ, you think they look burnt out now? They haven't trained for 8 hours a day. So I think it's I think that is something to do with it for sure. You just simply do not get the time to work on this stuff. So you implement stuff. Obviously, everyone's got a ton of film. They know what we do. That even that free kick now, where we have everyone line up offside, and then they come back on. I know we throw a wrinkle in there every now and again where OdeGOD will run up and stop and then come back again. But it's, even that, it's the same free kick we've been doing for months, because there isn't a chance to implement something else. I just feel like on Sunday with Ben White getting in and around Vicario, that could be if the delivery's right, I really do think that could be something that we'd really benefit from.
Yeah, I think so. And it's not like they're the tallest center backs either. So I know they've got Van de Ven. Is he?
He's quick. I don't know that he's particularly good in the air. Romero, he's just Mustafi that got to play with Leo Messi. So
yeah, that's what
I don't. I don't think they're. Then I think that what's the midfielder's name?
Bentancur?
No, Bentancur ain't going to play. They'll play Madison, Basuma, and the young kid who's actually a pretty good player, I think.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, Sarr.
Yeah, Papa Sarr.
Yeah.
I think he's pretty tall, but I don't know how good he is in the air. Just because he's tall, it doesn't necessarily mean you're any good. But yeah, I definitely see that as being an area where we can take advantage. And I think the transitions, do you know what I mean? Like this is going to be a transition game. They will fly at us with everything they've got. They will leave space in behind. And Van der Ven is really quick, but he's really quick in a straight line. If you get him moving offline, he's not that quick. And he's very clumsy. It would not surprise me to see one of those two centre halves walk on Sunday. A ball over the top, someone's running onto it, and they bring him down. It would not surprise me at all. If I just think if you get Van der Ven turning, he's fast in a straight line when he's running the way he's facing, basically.
Yeah. I mean, and again, this kind of goes back to the subs that we were talking about, but to be able to pull, possibly Martinelli or even Jesus, which
yeah.
I know the knee thing has affected him, but being able to have that speed and technical ability to come off the bench, I think could be, helpful against these center backs, particularly because I definitely think there's an opportunity there, like you said, that I mean, we know how crazy Romero is,
Yeah,
and I wouldn't be
surprised at all. He's so erratic. I'm telling you, he really, really reminds me of Mustafi. Reminds me of Mustafi a lot.
Yep. So I think set pieces and getting those center backs in trouble are real avenues to our success. And then them losing Udogi, I think I've not watched Spurs a ton this season, but I've been impressed with them almost every time I've seen them.
He's very fast, isn't he? He's very fast. One of my problems with the game at home is that I don't think Saka went at him enough.
Yeah.
And really tested him going backwards, because I'm not convinced he's that good going backwards. But they kind of use their fullbacks more to bang on. And that's the thing, our wide players are used to getting doubled and tripled up. And I'm not sure that Spurs have really got the tactical, I don't know if it's intelligence or it's maturity, but whatever it is, I'm not sure they've really got it in their locker to do that. And if you want to just come out and go toe to toe with us, I mean, that could go badly for them.
Yeah, I agree. It's, I think their wide players carry them so much in attack that they can't have them coming back and doubling up, constantly, or they would have no attack, So I think that will be something that could play into our hands. And I'm looking at Saka and OdeGOD a lot, for combinations on that side that could really cut them open. Because I mean, that's more than likely where our goals or assists are going to come from. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think so. I think Rice is going to play a huge part as well. I think he's been absolutely magnificent the last couple of games. He was excellent again on Tuesday night. Obviously against Wolves, I thought that might have been his best performance in an Arsenal shirt at Wolves. I thought he was absolutely fantastic.
He was really lucky not to score against Chelsea either. He had a couple of really good chances.
Yeah, the little pirouette at the end of the box when he whipped the ball over. I mean, he hit the post, but I think that was actually offside. It certainly got blown up for offside afterwards. I wasn't sure if it was on the shot or the entry pass. I think it was on the entry pass. I don't think it would have counted. He had the blocks one, obviously, that Ben White ended up scoring from the rebound from. But Chelsea were giving him so much space on the edge of the box that it was madness, the amount of space that we were getting on the edge of the box. I'd love it if Spurs give us that much space, and they might do. I mean, that's kind of how they play, so they may give us that much space. So that's that. I think that's going to be a key too. I think Rice, I have no doubt he will be on his game because he's generally is on his game. But I think that could be a real key, that area there, because they're not, Maddison isn't a two-way player, obviously. So then you're left with Bissouma and Sarr. If you can get Bissouma, especially on a booking early, because he runs around like a bull in a china shop. He's always a candidate for a booking if you can go running at him. So I do think that's a big area too.
Something else that's interesting too is, of course, they've had this this long break. Everybody's talked about it. They've had 15 days or something. Let's not forget their last game was a 4-0 loss to Newcastle that they've been sitting and stewing on too.
Yeah.
Which in these games of fine margins, I can definitely see that playing to our advantage a little bit as well, because you never want to take a long break after a loss like that. No,
and we've been, and we talk about playing last and the extra pressure when you're chasing or whatever. As we were saying earlier, they're 6 points behind Villa, and Villa they do have the 2 games now, but they're still 6 points behind. Villa play Chelsea at Villa Park on Saturday night. if that goes to 9 points, there is a chance that Spurs are going to be pretty deflated coming into this game, knowing that fourth is almost out of reach.
Yep, that's a good point. Yeah, I actually just real quick too. I've got the matchup Spurs against Newcastle in the last game. Madison, Basuma, Van de Ven, and Romero all picked up yellows in that last game too. So
yeah, and they were I believe Van de Ven was fortunate not to get a red as well, right? Didn't he have a couple I think he had a couple of others that were borderline. Romero's always lucky.
Romero's always, yeah.
Red. But yeah, and but they're going to pick up a lot of cards like that because you can catch them in transition so easily. So they have to make those fouls. Romero doesn't need any excuse to make a foul. But the other ones, Basuma's always made a lot of fouls, man. When he was at Brighton, I always used to say if we signed him, we'd be in trouble because with the way that Xhaka picks up cards, Jesus, if he did the amount of fouls that Basuma does, he'd never be playing.
Yeah. Yeah, so I definitely think that could be a big advantage for us just with having, like you said, in transition play and having all these guys that are pretty, they're no stranger to a yellow card. So, but man, Gav, isn't it kind of odd? This is kind of well, I know this is the second time we're playing them this year, but it's weird, not going in knowing there's a guaranteed Kane penalty.
Thank God for that. But this is the biggest one, derby, from our point of view that I can remember. I mean, I know people are going to point to the one a couple of years ago that we lost up there, the holding one when we basically threw away fourth place, and that was big between the two clubs. But for us, this is the biggest one I can remember for a while because we've got so much on it. This ain't for fourth place for us. We're going for a title. This is different, and that's the other thing. Like I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, it's St. Tottering's Day on Sunday if we win." I couldn't give a fuck. Like that was a fun thing to be aiming for when we were shit. Yeah, that's how I look at it, right? I didn't care about that when we were winning league titles in the 90s and the 2000s. It didn't matter like we just took it for granted. Of course, we're going to finish above them. It don't matter. We're going for a title, and I kind of feel like I'm back there again. And there's been a lot less talk of it this year than the last couple of years, simply because first off we've done it, but secondly we've just got bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, that is interesting. I've barely heard anybody bring it up. I'd kind of forgotten that was even a thing. Which is
shouldn't be a thing. It shouldn't be a thing. Like it really shouldn't be a thing. I don't like it at all. I think it's completely unnecessary. But like I said, I think it was just a coping mechanism for all those years when we weren't challenging for the title. It's been 20 years since we won a league title. I know we've had a couple of little challenges. The Leicester year, we kind of almost went there. Obviously the famous 07-08 with the Gallas sitting on the pitch at St Andrews year, we went close. And then I think 12-13 and it might have been 11-12 as well, or 13-14. We were in it late until March. We were in it before we fell apart. But we've not really been challenging since the mid-2000s. So I just think St Tottenham's Day came because we needed something to talk about in April and May. Whereas now we're back to where we think we should be. So I think that will just go away now.
Yeah. Well, I love it for like banter between mates. That's about it though. The only reason it really matters to me. I love sending that congratulatory text to my mate Matthew, who's a big Spurs fan. But yeah, I'm really nervous about this game. But at the same time, I'm looking forward to it as well. I mean, it's huge. It's massive. I'm kind of glad it's Tottenham in this position, just because I think it gives it even a little more weight, being our neighbors and hated rivals.
I think there's an argument that it takes your mind off the title race for a day.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden it's a local derby and the title race is, I'm not going to say a secondary because it's not. But at least there's something else riding on it rather than it just, when we play Bournemouth next week, that is literally just about winning to get 3 points in the title race. When we play Everton on the final day, that is just about getting 3 points in the title race. There's a little bit more on this one, and I think maybe it allows you to focus the mind away from the fact that it's a title race. Like I said, I think a lot of that does depend on the Man City result tonight. I think a Man City draw would definitely bring more feelings of fuck, we have to do this. Whereas if Man City win, you're kind of, like I said, I think the press is almost off at that point because we're not really expecting anything. So yeah, there is that side to it too.
Yeah. And then, you know, this is so obvious. I really don't even need to say it, I guess. But, you know, let's not forget either that Tottenham would love nothing more than to be the one to spoil this title for us, too. You know, so
100%.
they're going to be,
like I said to you in the first half, that atmosphere is going to be absolutely red hot. And they are going to be up for every single little ball, every little challenge. And that feeds onto the pitch. Like that atmosphere feeds onto the pitch. I've been at some of these games where the atmosphere has been absolutely fucking mental, and it does feed onto the pitch. You see more challenges going in, you see more red cards going in, the game gets quicker. You can visibly see the atmosphere affecting what is going on the pitch.
Yep. Yeah, I feel so much better about our temperament, though. You know, like as a club. I mean, I know we're still one of the youngest, but everybody just feels a lot more experienced and
we don't really have any
pressure
hotheads left, right? I mean, I would say Jesus is the one that you could see maybe boiling over. Other than that, I think we're pretty calm and measured. I mean, I guess there's probably a point you can get to with Gabriel where he would actually eat your face. But I think you'd have to push him pretty far to get him there. But other than
he
that,
also seems he's calmed down a little bit too.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so too. As he's got older, I think he has. Ben White, obviously, he's the king of shithousery, but he's not someone who loses his head. So I think the team in general, I think we've got a very, very professional team. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think I think our players in general are very focused. I mean, that comes from the manager down.
I'm curious, just tactically, the only thing that I'm really curious what you think about it is midfield, and how you would line up. So we know OdeGOD is the furthest forward, right? No doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got two choices right here. I think OdeGOD is playing right 8 and Declan Rice is playing left 8. I don't think that's even up for discussion. I think that's what's going to happen. I think the difference is who you put in a 6. I think this. I'm not going to lie. Before kickoff on Tuesday night, I was thinking that whatever happened on Tuesday night, Sunday's a game for Jorginho. Now I'm not sure because I think it's going to be a transition game. I think it's going to be a pacey game. And the more I think about it, the more I think it's probably Thomas Partey. But I don't know what Arteta's going to do. But put it that way, I have no idea what he's going to do. Like, I think it will be Tomiyasu at left back, but who knows? He could throw fucking Kivior back in there again. I'm at the point where I can't guess what he's going to do. So I really don't know. If it was up to me, I think I would probably start Partey because I think it's going to be that sort of transition game. And if you'd have asked me 2 weeks ago, I would never have given you that answer. I didn't know if we'd ever see Partey in an Arsenal shirt again after the Bayern Munich game when he was just absolutely abhorrent. But I thought he was good Tuesday, and I can see how his skill set translates well to this game. I mean, and let's be honest, a year ago, you would never have thought about starting this game without Thomas Partey. You'd have started him if he had one leg. He wouldn't, obviously, because he can't start when he's got a broken finger now. But you would absolutely want him for this game, and I think I'm ready to throw him in there again and get my heart broken again.
Yeah, I'm leaning the same way. I think it makes the most sense to play him at the 6. You know, we've talked before about how long it takes him to come back from injury, but I think Tuesday night was a good sign. He looks up for it, and you know, again, I really like Jorginho as a player to come on later and settle things down. So I think it just makes the most sense. You know, again, as long as we score first.
Yeah, and the only other position that's up for debate, you know, we talk about Trossard, Martinelli, and then Jorginho and Partey. The only other one is left back, and I'm not really sure this is a debate at this point. I think if Tomiyasu can start, Tomiyasu will start. I mean, the question is just about can Tomiyasu start, and we're not going to know that until Sunday.
Yep. Yeah, so that kind of the whole left side is a bit open, which is, you know, whoever he picks for left back could play into who he picks for left wing too, you know, depending.
Yeah, possibly. I don't see him playing Zinchenko for a couple of reasons. Zinchenko seems to have fallen out of favour a little bit. Zinchenko is obviously a problem for the fan base. And I don't see this being a possession game. I just don't see this being a game where we have 60% of the ball. I can't see it. I don't think that's going to be the game plan. I don't think it should be the game plan. I think letting them have the ball a little bit and coming out at us is probably the way to play this game, and that is not. You know, if you put Zinchenko on the pitch, Zinchenko is going to have 102 touches of the ball. It doesn't matter. He's going to do that, and you are going to turn yourself into a possession-based team. And I don't think that's really where we need to be this game.
Yeah. Plus, I think, if Party does start, it's almost a little redundant, I think, having Zinchenko as well, because you.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I think Tomiyasu maybe is a little bit quicker than Zinchenko, and I think that might be more important to have a little bit more pace out there than to have the ball progression.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So, well, massive game, mate.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm nervous as hell already. It's gonna be get worse and worse throughout the weekend, no doubt. So, all right, mate. Well, let's leave it there. This was episode 99, by the way, just to let you know. So, episode 100 is gonna be hopefully a celebration on Monday or Tuesday, whenever we do it. Let's hope so. So. Maybe we'll have something special planned. It depends. It depends on what goes on the weekend. I ain't gonna lie, because if it don't go well the weekend, it's not going to be a very pleasant episode. So we'll see. Hopefully, it will be a celebratory 100th episode. So, all right, Jess. Well, good night, mate, and I will speak to you next week.
Sounds good. Good night.
Bye.